I think that traders doesn't want to know how the guru succeed. I think that they want to know how traders like themselves, how they make it or how they survive. And this is the reason why I wanted to do this event, which is called Traders for Traders event. And I did that last month, okay, November 2024. One of the motivations for doing Traders for Traders is to encourage assisting traders, people who are trading at this moment, people who aren't successful, or people who are successful, to talk about and share about trading experience. Perhaps that just by knowing what they encountered, other traders will be able to recognize that and from there improve from there. So this is my motivation of doing Traders for Traders event. All right, and I spoke to one of my good friends from Eightcap. Eightcap is a broker that's regulated in Australia, in UK, and many other parts of the world, and is one of the largest broker out there. And we've been using Eightcap for a long time. So Eightcap was very happy to sponsor this event because they are very serious to work on the education of traders to make them successful. So I spoke to them, and then we held an event of about 120 people in NTUC Income Building in Singapore. And that was a very, very nice session because many people, in fact, all the people stay back and talk to the other 10 traders who are trading with me. So I have about 10 traders trading with me. They are my students, and I have 2 speakers. And the first one, it's TC. He has been trading with me for about 15 years. So this video, I'll be sharing with you what TC is doing, who is he, his profile, what his motivation, as well as his trading method. I'll explain how he used whatever that I taught him and how he modified, and then he has been trading 15 years already. He is successful. He has a day job, and his day job requires a 24/7 commitment, but he is able to continue trading 15 years from the first time I met him, from the first time he came to my course until now today. So let's hear why he is able to do so.
If it has moved substantially down or up, I don't do stupid things as well. I wait. Yeah. So usually I wait for a retracement to look for a trigger.
I remember when I first met TC, he came with his girlfriend and now his wife. They have 2 girls together. One of them is 1 year older than my girl. And I think that at that point when I saw him, he still have a lot of black hairs. But when I met him again, he has a lot of gray hairs already. That shows that how many years that he's been trading with me, right? He's always the very quiet trader. That means he doesn't ask a lot of questions, but from his personality, he's very, very stable. That means that you probably don't think that anything could rock him. So during the session, he shared about his schedule. He is employed full-time in the oil and gas industry. His work commitment is 24/7. That means that he needs to be caught anytime because of his work commitment. He only has time to look at his charts in the morning before work and at night after work, and sometimes to steal a moment during lunchtime. So in this case, what he did is to take my method and modify to suit his work or lifestyle. Okay, meaning that if you take a look at trading, it doesn't mean that a method is suitable to you. It might be suitable to you, but you have to probably modify according to your lifestyle, to your work schedule, or to other commitments. So for him, he desired to clock extra pocket money while working. That means at never one instant, right, he wanted to quit his job. Okay, but yes, he does dream of going unemployed at the age of 55, and that's what he presented. And of course, then he has like 13 more years to achieve his goal. Okay, now let's share a little bit on his main trading strategy. I will be showing the chart that he showed during the Traders for Traders event. Let's take a look. This is what he shared as his main trading strategy. He trades primarily in Forex, some indexes, commodities, metals. Now, these are also things which I've covered because for us, we trade in low-hanging fruits, especially when a trend has nicely established. Now, by choosing into the many pairs in Forex, we don't really choose and fixed into like one or two pairs. We do look at the majors and the minors, and then the indexes will usually be the US indexes, even Nikkei 225 or Hang Seng. Commodities, we usually trade oil, sometimes into different commodities, as long as I said, right, it starts to trend or you break out of a massive pattern. And also metals, I always encourage trading into gold, right? So this is one of our best performance trade, and likewise for BTC. Okay, so the whole idea is that by looking at this basket of trades, we do have trades every day. We don't need to really scan for stocks, although yes, we do look at stocks as well, but for him it's sufficient already. Now, as he said, right, the thing is he used price action and he used wash and rinse. So this part is about WR, which is wash and rinse. Tech is the latest level-based method that looks at price levels to evaluate trend. It's a very powerful tools to pinpoint exactly what are the levels that the market is looking at, right? So what I'm going to do, right, is I'm just going to go through his strategy here and then use a chart to illustrate what he's actually looking at for you to have a more understanding on what he's actually trading with, right? And his weekly analysis will be on Sunday. Well, this is really very hardworking, and this is something which I encourage as well. That means that every Sunday you spend probably like about 1 or 2 hours. For me, I don't do this analysis on Sunday anymore because at one glance I roughly know what I'm looking at. But for new traders, I think that, you know, if you can spend like 1 or 2 hours or even 30 minutes, right, every weekend just to look at how the candle closed. That means how the weekly candle close, and it's a very, very important enhancement to your strategy. Okay, so his entry is strictly on a H4, that's 4 hour, or H1 entry, regardless of what he's trading, whether it's Forex, indexes, or commodities or metals, right? This is really our method, which is a H4 entry, and then to look at week or day. So a lot of people doesn't refer to the higher time frame because I look at the week and the day as a reference time frame. So we want to trade in the direction of the higher time frame. So in this case here, you realize that you will avoid a lot of noises. And by doing so, by trading in the direction of the higher time frame, then there's one thing that you can do, which is you capture a huge, big movement. So even if you are, let's say, just a day trader or you're a scalper, by trading in the direction of the higher time frame, like for example a day, then you find that your scalping or your day trade comes easily. That means it moves faster. Okay, so this is what we do. We do a multiple time frame analysis, and yes, if you look at the slides, that's what he mentioned. He said he used a monthly and quarterly chart at the start of the month. Now, the reason why I encourage the start of the month is because a lot of huge funds, all right, they will start to reshuffle your positions at the start of every month or at the end of every month or end of quarter or start of a quarter. So by looking at how the month and the quarter closes, it's a very, very good indication of going forward. Okay, so in a way that we are trading on a lower time frame, like we are trading on a 4-hour chart, but we refer and trade in the direction of the higher time frame. So this is how, in terms of multiple time frame, we trade. All right, and also in the event if the candle closed whereby the price has moved a lot, then that's what he said, he will look for retracement. That means that we don't chase after price, because if you take a look at prices, you find that prices will always retrace, and this is one of the very, very important trick, right? Because by trading the retracement, you do get a opportunity to buy at the low. All right, so that, you know, from that retracement point to the high point, for example, that's where the space would be. So yes, I do note that when we trade, there must be space, and retracement does give us space, and with space, it gives us that profitability. Okay, so let me just illustrate his method with a chart. And I don't want to make this video long, so that I'll probably just make it in like 2 parts. All right, so because he presented quite a fair bit, so let's talk about his method, all right, with a chart illustration on the trade that we've traded. Have you clicked the subscribe button? And how about a like? All right, so this is a chart on pound versus the dollar, and this was one of the trade which I've illustrated and we traded live. Okay, so a few things to explain this. These are what he meant by tag lines. Okay, what tag does is that it gives a very good perspective in terms of trend. So for example, we know that this is an uptrend. How do I know that? Because we have the low point here, we have the higher low, and these are each of the highs, and these are the higher highs and the higher high, right? So in this case here, this is a very clear uptrend. But what tag does is that it gives perspective in terms of support resistance, and as well as when a trend is continuing. For example, these are the support in tag lines. This means that as long as it doesn't break the support level or the tag lines, then the trend is likely to go up. But what happened in this area here was that price starts to break and clear below the tag line. Okay, so this will be the first sign that the trend is going to turn. So by breaking and closing below all the tag lines, so that's the first set of tag lines as a support, so these will be the second support level. So by closing below the tag line, then price is now showing a clear change of trend. So the trend has reversed to head down somewhere around here. So what he meant was that he will inspect into the day as well as the week, right? And he uses wash and rinse. So here is a very clear illustration of washed, okay? And then this is the rinse point. So that's where we have the trigger to sell into this trade. Now around where is near to the tag as a resistance level, because now price had already broken below, and then when it moved back up, so this would be seen as the resistance level. So when it goes near to the resistance levels, he will trade each of the retracement. Okay, that means that when it's moving down, he won't be trading inside here, because price had already moved down too much. He will be waiting for each of the retracement to trade. So likewise, for example, at this point of time here, because this was a low point seen as a support, right? Then price is actually near to the support level. So no, we are not going to trade when it's near to the support level. If we want to sell highs, we wait for price to retrace to a reasonable resistance levels. Okay, so later on part 2, you will find that he uses only 2 sets of lines, and that will be the support and resistance line in any charts that he's looking at. Okay, so then he said that he would be looking into the day chart and sometimes to flip to the weekly chart. So this is the weekly chart here, and of course the weekly chart is showing bearish movement here. All right, then he will go into the lower time frame and look for trades. So where's the lower time frame? He will be flipping to the 4-hour chart and be looking for a lower time frame entry. So same thing, what we rely on is we rely on a pattern which is called wash and rinse. So if you're interested to know more about wash and rinse, I do have a lot of videos on wash and rinse. And in wash and rinse here, we are all noting that price should, move up. Okay, so that wash action will clear a lot of stop loss. Okay, so let me just illustrate what is the washed. All right, so for example, this bar here is a huge surge up. Okay, so a lot of people might be looking to buy here because of this huge breakup. It was a very, very bullish bar. But for us, when we have the tag lines, it tells us that this zone here as a resistance level. So this pushed up, we are waiting for rejection. That means we're waiting for price to move down. So what we will usually do is to draw a wash line here. So this is the wash line. If price get resisted in this resistance zone, the blue color zone here, and it move back down, then this would be our signal to go short. But we are not trading or triggering a trade in the higher time frame in the day. We are using the day as a reference, all right, and we are triggering the trade in the lower time frame. So this is what he explained by where he will execute the trade either in a 4 hour or either in a 1 hour. Now you find that, let me just roll this forward, you will find that this is a very, very nice way for trading, all right, where you see this here, it's the wash bar, and then this is the rinse bar, right? So he said also, if price had moved too far down, that means that it's moved too far down, he will not trade at the low side. Why do I say this is the low side? Because this was proven a support level. So this is proven also another support level. So if you were to trade inside this point here is the low side. So what he will do is he will wait for price to retrace higher, like for example this point, to re-enter into a trade. So as I said, right, retracement is very, very important. So if you look at the trade here, right after the retracement, it moves down, and because that we are trading into the higher time frame price movement, that means that we are not trading in the lower time frame. So these are all coming from the higher time frame break in terms of the price structure, and this is where and how, right, that we are able to capture a huge explosive moves, all right? But this also means that because we have the levels marked in for our traders already, for TC, he's able to check it every morning once and at night once, and sometimes occasionally to look at his position during lunchtime. So to overcome the need to work at the same time he wants to trade, there are a few things that he did, and which are the things I encourage is to trade using the 4 hour. Because if you are trading every 4 hour, this means that you have, out of 24 hours, right, you have only 6 times to look at your charts, or 6 times for a signal a day, right? Minus of the time that we are sleeping, that's essentially 8 hours. It means that you probably only have 4 times a day in terms of signal. But by looking at the 4 hour trigger in the higher time frame, which is the day, then you can remove a lot of noises, and in turn you capture a big moves. Right? And of course that we trade after a trend has established. That means that if you trade in a, let's say, a counter trend, so for example, by trading here is a counter trend, if you were to sell, because then the trend essentially is still moving up, all right, because we let price do a confirmation by breaking below all the support levels, and we trade on the retracement back up, then the trades becomes very, very smooth, because we are shorting. All right, we are shorting in a downtrend. So this is very important, because if you are shorting in an uptrend, you find that, you know, the trade doesn't really move a lot. So let me just explain what is shorting in an uptrend. So for example, this is upward momentum, and to us it is an uptrend. If you are shorting inside here, then you are shorting in an uptrend. All right, but if this is a downward momentum, you're shorting here. When price moves up, then you're shorting in a downtrend. So price tends to travel a lot more easier. All right, so that's how really TC trades, and he has been trading with me for 15 years. I'm really glad to see him doing the Traders for Traders, discussion, and we had a very nice presentation. What I like to do is that in the next video, I'll be sharing his exact method, what he's using to trade, and at the same time, how he manages his trade. Okay, so stay tuned for part 2.